Hey guys, welcome back to our videos. This is not our normal Friday devotion. Rather, this is our continuation of our daily walk through Holy Week, talking about the different events that happened around 2,000 years ago on that week, going from the triumphant entry on Sunday to the resurrection on the following Sunday. And so we've been walking through these things. And last year on Good Friday, which of course is what today is, we had the question. We did a live video and we had the question, why is this called Good Friday? Because we're looking at all the things that happened, right, don't seem very good. Jesus Christ being beaten and crucified on the cross, buried in a tomb, none of that seems good. But we answered that question last year knowing that what this day actually means is 100% good. My name is Pastor Brandon and welcome to North Haven General Baptist Church. We're glad to see you. And I want to kind of pick up where we left off yesterday. I hope you've been able to see the previous videos. If not, please go check them out on YouTube and Facebook. And of course, you're watching this video now, and we have one more coming on Saturday night, somewhere between 5 and 6 o'clock at night Central Time. And then we have our Sunday morning service, Resurrection Day, 10:40 a.m. Central Time. We'd love to see you here or online. But picking up from that video yesterday, we talked about Jesus in the garden and the strife that he was going through, the struggles that he was facing, the hardships that he was dealing with inside, and the conversation that he had with God. And right at the end of that video, with the scripture we were reading in the book of Mark, we see how Jesus Christ had gotten to a point where he's letting some of the disciples know that his betrayer was there. And of course, we know his betrayer was Judas. And so we see that Judas had betrayed him with a kiss, just like Jesus had said he would. And then we go through and different things happened that night and continuing on. Jesus was arrested, falsely accused. He was questioned by religious leaders who had an agenda. They set up a trial that just was completely unfair from start to finish. Peter denied him 3 times, just as Jesus said he would. And so many things happened over the next few hours. And finally, he was handed over to be crucified. John chapter 19 tells us that he was beaten with a lead-tipped whip, which is insane to think about. The Roman soldiers mocked him, stripped him. In Matthew 27:27, we see how he was mocked. They spit on him, they hit him. They wove the crown of thorns, just thorn branches, and they wove them together and made a crown out of it and pushed it onto his head. Then he was led to be crucified on a hill called Golgotha. Now, Golgotha was named that, which means the place of a skull, because the rock that it stood on was in the shape of a skull. And he was nailed to a cross, and he was raised up on that cross to begin the process of suffocation while having nails pierced through your feet and hands. A horrible situation. During this time, a sign was made up mocking him, saying, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." We see that the Jewish leaders and the soldiers and all these other people walked up and they mocked him as they passed by. Luke 23 tells us that despite all this, he still, for those people who mocked him, for those people who did this to him, he prayed to God. He said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." And then we go into Matthew chapter 27, starting verse 45. It says, "Now from the 6th hour until the 9th hour, there was darkness over all the land. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, 'Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani.'" This means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Some of those who stood there when they heard that said, "This man is calling for Elijah." Immediately, one of them ran and took a sponge, filled it with sour wine, and put it on a reed and offered it to him to drink. The rest said, "Let him alone. Let us see if Elijah will come and save him." And Jesus cried out with a loud voice and yielded up his spirit. Now we know from other scripture, pausing right there in verse 50, we know from other gospels those who were close. The book of John tells us what he said right there. That cry out that he made was the 3 words, "It is finished." And we pick up at verse 51. It says, "Then behold, the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth quaked, and the rocks were split, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised, and coming out of the graves after his resurrection. They went into the holy city and appeared to many. So when the centurion and those with him who were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and the things that happened, they feared greatly and said, 'Truly, this was the Son of God.' And many women who had followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering to him, were looking on from afar. Among the women were Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's sons." After these things happened, Christ was placed in a tomb. That tomb was sealed up. And if this was the end of the story, we would have no hope. We would have nothing to look forward to. The name Good Friday would mean nothing. That name came about somewhere in the early 1900s. And we wouldn't even be able to name it this if that was the end. Now, if you've seen the movies that depict the description of how Jesus died, of what he went through, the beatings and the hanging there and all the stuff, the pain, all these things, when we watch those things, we can't help but feel the emotional sadness and grief. As a parent watching these things, like the movies like The Passion, I struggle because they show things like Jesus walking, and they show Mary watching his mother. And I get the feels of what it's like, right? Because we wonder what it would be like watching our own children go through something like that. And we begin to grieve along with her. It's easy to get caught up into the sad state of mind when we look at things, when we read things, and we focus on the crucifixion. The truth is, we should feel sadness. I should feel sadness for the pain that he had to go through for me. The sacrifice that he had to make for me. I should feel that sadness. But I should not grieve. He had to suffer those things for me. He had to suffer those things for you. And we can be sad about that. We can feel bad about that. But outside of that, we need not grieve Jesus. Because that grave was not the end. That tomb was not it. Knowing this, we do not have to grieve, but we can celebrate him, worship him, seek him. We can have hope, knowing that when Friday night was over, the story was not. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
I want to thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I encourage you to check out more videos here on our YouTube channel. If you want to learn more about Christ or more about our church, please check us out on our website, northavengb.com.